Hi everyone, I just wanted to put together a quick casual video today, just talking about some of my study tips and tricks that I've been using now that we are in quarantine, and maybe our study habits or study spaces might not be the same since we can't really go anywhere. And so these are some general tips and tricks, but also some tips that I use for writing specifically. So I have my notes in front of me, so if you see me like looking down, I'm just looking at my notes. Before I get started, I just want to highlight two kind of books that I use to put this together and that have really helped inform the kind of studying that I do and how I put these tips and tricks together. So the first thing is this productivity planner. I know it's probably like reversed for you guys, but it says productivity planner on the top. And it's just this like really helpful little planner. And it has like a bunch of tips at the beginning of it. And I found this really helpful. I used this when I was studying for the GRE, and it helped me so much like to get things done because I was studying during the summer. And so there wasn't a lot of structure for me there. And then the next thing, and I can't suggest this book enough, is Atomic Habits by James Clear. It's one of the best habits books I've ever read. And I've read a couple, or at least have a couple that I should probably read. But this one is my personal favorite. I've really enjoyed it. It's a really fast, easy read. So if you're looking for something to do during quarantine that isn't go down a rabbit hole on YouTube or scroll forever on Instagram, this is probably the thing. I really, really like this. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that is on my list is to be creative with the times that you're working at. So automatically, a lot of people will work either in the mid-morning or mid-afternoon, but sometimes that doesn't work for you or your brain isn't super alert at that time. So I would really stress that you are experimental with the times that you work and you try to find what works best for you. So for me personally, when I find that I begin procrastinating, working in the early morning really, really helps me. So if I have a big project coming up or an assignment or a paper that I need to work on, I'll wake up at 4:30 or 5 in the morning, and just that time between when I wake up and between like 7:30 or 8 is super productive for me personally. And I find that I have a lot of clarity of mind at that time. And it's because, like nobody's up and nobody's bothering you or doing anything. So definitely find a time in the day where you can be, where you can work without being distracted or where your mind is alert. So play around with those. And I will write down kind of a shortened version of all these tips in the description, so you can go back and refer to those so you don't have to like keep watching the video a million times over. So the second thing is to set a cutoff time where you can't work anymore. You say, after this time or between these two times, I'm not doing any homework. So for me personally, that's at 9:30 p.m. After 9:30 p.m., I don't do any more homework. I just relax, or I do some reading, or I watch a TV show or something like that. It's important to give yourself cutoff times because it means that you are having the self-control to not go deep into the night or like waste a huge chunk of your morning trying to do homework but being distracted at the same time. So it really emphasizes that you get all of your homework done so that you can reward yourself with a big relaxation period. So find out where the times are and make those times free from any work whatsoever. Number 3 is to find a writing space. So I have to write, personally, I have to write at a table. If I try to work at my couch, it's a disaster. And I end up like watching TV or getting on my phone or something like that, because in my head, the couch is somewhere that I relax. So trying to sit down and do work there, it doesn't really work. So from this book specifically, James Clear talks about how each habit that we create is initiated by a cue. And for me, that cue is sitting down on a specific chair at my dining table. I live in a really small space, so I don't really have a room for a desk or anything like that. And so I eat in a different chair than I study in, and it really, really helps. So my cue is, as soon as I sit down, my mind knows that it's time to work because that is the space that I've been working in for a while. So I would just find a space and make it so that in that place, in that chair, at the dining table, or if working on the couch works for you, on the couch, that you are doing work when you sit there, so that your mind gets its gears going and recognizes, oh, okay, it's time to focus. Number 4 is a tip that I got from this productivity planner here. It's called the Pomodoro Technique, and it was created by Francesco Cirillo. And it's called the Pomodoro Technique because in Italian, Pomodoro means tomato, and he was using a tomato-shaped timer when he developed this. So the name is a little silly, but it's actually really handy. And the Pomodoro Technique is a technique where you set a timer. Usually it's 25 minutes, 35 minutes, or I personally do 50-minute Pomodoros. And during that time, you can do nothing but focus on the task that you're supposed to complete. And if you get distracted within that time, you have to start over. So that discipline is going to make you be able to focus for longer periods of time. One thing that I use that really, really helps me with this is an app called Flora. It's Flora, and it's a free app that you can find on the App Store. I know that they have it for iPhone. I'm not sure if they have it for Android, but you could definitely check. I'm sure there are similar Pomodoro apps out there. And what this app does is that at the beginning of my Pomodoro, or of the time that I'm supposed to work, it plants a virtual tree. And if I get distracted or like leave the page or use my phone to check my email or Instagram or something, it will kill my virtual tree that I planted, which sounds like so silly when I'm saying it out loud, but it really keeps you from getting on your phone. And so that is something that really helps me, because getting on my phone is probably the number one thing that distracts me. So using this app has really kind of revolutionized the way that I study. Number 5 is to hack your to-do list. We all know that to-do lists are really important and that they're helpful, but sometimes we do our to-do lists incorrectly. So the way that the productivity planner lines it out is to write down 3 to 5 things that you need to get done all day, and try not to write down more than 3 to 5 things. And the reason that we do that is because 3 to 5 things, that's a reasonable number. A lot of the time when we want to write down a to-do list, or we get like excited to get a lot of things done, we write down like 8 or 12 or 15 things that we need to get done. And sometimes that's like impossible, right? And so I would write down those 3 to 5 things to get done, so that you don't get stuck in your stress or get stuck in what James Clear calls analysis paralysis, where you are thinking about all the things that you need to do, but the sheer amount of things that you need to do like paralyzes you, and then you can't really get anything done. And I find myself like in that space so much. So 3 to 5 things, and then you want to list those things in order of the things that make you the most anxious and the most uncomfortable. The reason you do that is because usually the things that are making you the most anxious or the most uncomfortable are the things that you've procrastinated the longest. So you want to order those things. And for that thing that makes you most anxious or most uncomfortable, you want to ask yourself the question, if I only got this one thing done today, would I be satisfied? And that first item needs to have the answer yes. And of course, multiple things on your list can answer yes to that question, but you want to make sure at least one item on your list does. All right, I'm going to change the page here from my notes. Okay. Number 6 for me is to make your workspace a pleasure to be in. Sometimes we work in spaces that just like don't vibe with us. And that sounds like so hippy dippy, but it really does make a difference. So for me personally, that means like before I start a long bout of studying or a long writing period, I'll make myself a cup of tea. I'll turn on some good instrumental music. For me, that's usually like jazz. I really like to listen to jazz. I also really like to listen to classical music while I work. Those things really, I can listen to them and enjoy them without being distracted. There's this channel on YouTube. It's called Cafe BGM, which I think stands for background music. And it's just like this really chill jazz. And it really kind of like makes the space that I'm writing in, it really makes it just like nice to be in. And so I really like that channel. And then also I'll listen to like a Baroque music playlist on Spotify or on YouTube. And those are also really helpful. And then for me, another thing that I like to do is like, I like to light a candle, or I like to open the windows. Of course, like, what makes your workspace a pleasure is going to be different for each one of you. So definitely experiment with things and make sure that the things that are making the space pleasurable aren't a distraction, right? So if you're listening to music with lyrics in it that you really like, you're going to end up vibing to your music and you're not going to be doing any work. Or if you live in a busy area and you open the windows to get some fresh air, but the noise from traffic keeps distracting you, that's probably not the best option. So you want to experiment with things and find the things that work for you that make your workspace happy, but also don't distract you. So play around with that. Number 7 is specific to writing. And something that really helps me when I write is to give myself a time slot where I can write without any consequences. So there isn't really a goal, but to keep writing during that time period. And a couple of weeks back, I did a group session in one of my classes, and we got together and we did what was called a free write. So you set yourself a timer for like 10 minutes, and during that time, you just keep typing or you keep writing. You do not lift your hand from the paper or from the keyboard. And it just like forces you to come up with things. And if you can't think of something, you just write the same word over and over and over and over again, which sounds ridiculous, but truly it gets your mind going. And the great thing about that is that there's no set goal in mind, right? You're not thinking like, oh, I have to come up with a thesis statement right now, or, oh, I have to write a full 5 paragraphs this very second, like, let yourself write without those goals at first. And that's super, super helpful for me especially. And so if you think that would be something to help you, definitely try it out. And then the last tip that I want to give is to learn how to take breaks. You're probably like, oh, Lauren, I know how to take a break. Like everybody knows how to take a break. But the truth is that I've been taking breaks incorrectly for like forever. And the way that you take breaks really makes a difference. So for me personally, and this is so hard to do, and I mean, I mess this up all the time. In fact, like all of these tips, like this is like the ideal situation, right? It's not like I follow all of these tips every single day, but right now during this time that we're in, I think it's just helpful to hear from somebody else and to learn from each other. I think that's what's useful about having an online platform, is that we can talk to each other and learn from each other, even though we're like physically separated. But learning how to take breaks is so important. So for me, trying not to get on Instagram or to get on YouTube or to check my email or to think about work or anything like that. I try to not do those things, because the second I do those things, I like go down the rabbit hole, right? And I keep watching YouTube videos, or like I keep scrolling on Instagram, and then my brain gets all worked up and then I can't focus again, right? So you want to do something during your break that is going to just absolutely relax you. So that means not getting an Instagram or YouTube. It means maybe it's taking a step outside for a second, going on a quick walk, stretching, go get some water, refill your cup of coffee or your cup of tea or something like that. But do something that is just going to really relax you, because you want to refuel your mind so that when you go back to work, that you can just like really get back to work, so that you don't have to like think about anything else. So those are all the tips that I have for you today. Once again, productivity planner, super helpful. Pretty sure you can get this on Amazon. And then same thing for this Atomic Habits. This book is so great. There was also, before I read this book, I listened to a podcast where the author of this book was interviewed. So I will write down the name of that podcast below, because I really, really enjoyed it. And it like helped me not only like try to create better habits, but it also helped me figure out what I wanted to do with my life. So I would definitely check this out. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Once again, if you need any help at all, my hours are on Mondays and Wednesdays. I really want you guys to make appointments with me so that I can help you during any time, any part of the writing process. I'm here for you. Also, feel free to message me on Canvas or to write something in the Student Hangout forum. I check that multiple times during my workday, just so that I can see if anybody has asked me questions or sent me any messages. So I hope to talk to you guys soon and see you guys soon in appointments. Best of luck with anything, and I hope you're all staying safe and healthy. Bye.